What's up, everyone? Tactical Turtleneck here, and today we are talking about dating.
Seems kind of gay.
And let's just get this out of the way. Dating has never been good. Not once, not ever. There has never been a time in human history where people were actually getting dating right. And I know, your grandma swears up, down, left, and right that people knew how to love back in my day. Yeah, well, Nana, I'm sorry, but, you married a man who called you woman for 40 years and thought beating you was the way to tell you that the Sunday roast wasn't good.
Hit her, Dave! Smack her!
Every generation likes to act like modern dating is the worst it's ever been. People don't even commit anymore. Hookup culture is ruining everything. Why won't he text me back? First of all, he was never texting you back, and you know that. Second, dating was never good. We've just been fucking it up in new and innovative ways every century. Right now, yeah, you live in a digital wasteland where you are one accidental swipe away from a crackhead named Chad who calls himself an alpha male on Instagram beating you.
Check out my pics.
But before this, it was way worse. Like, way worse. Let's rewind a bit. Back to a time where romance wasn't just bad, it was straight up government-sanctioned human trafficking. The Middle Ages.
He's gonna deflower her in the tower.
Dating in the Middle Ages didn't exist. According to History Cooperative, marriage wasn't about love. It was about business. You weren't looking for a soulmate. You were looking for whoever your dad could trade you off to for the best financial gain. Maybe the best goat.
How much for the woman?
Woman?
You mean a goat?
Your parents picked a spouse for you before you had all your baby teeth. And if you didn't like them, well, that was too fucking bad because you weren't getting out of it. Unless you were rich enough to personally bankroll the Vatican's next remodeling project and convince the Pope to give you a divorce. That's why royal families in Europe look like they were built in a lab by a drunk scientist. When your entire bloodline is just 6 guys named Henry swapping daughters, your genetics start looking like a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy. And then you get the modern royal family. And in case you think it was better for the guys, no, not really. Sure, you weren't getting sold for livestock, but your wife was chosen for you too. Your dad would size up some 12-year-old girl like she was a potential business merger and say, yeah, that one. Strong hips, good bone structure. She'll do. And that was it. That was your wife. But if you were one of the lucky ones, you could bypass marriage entirely and dedicate your life to courtly love. And what the hell is courtly love, you might be asking?
My lady bids you wear this token.
Well, of course.
She also said to tell you her name.
Miss Johnson!
Well, it is the most insane simp behavior that humanity has ever produced. Knights would dedicate their entire existence to writing poetry and fighting wars for women they weren't even allowed to touch.
Ha! Gay!
Seriously, girls, do you think that modern nice guys are bad? Imagine a whole generation of armed incels writing sonnets and murdering each other because some lady with bad hygiene said thank you once.
It smells like fish.
Wasn't much better in the Renaissance period either. The era of art, literature, and people still not knowing how to have normal relationships. Now, this is when people finally started considering love as a factor in marriage. But don't get excited, because while you technically had more choice, you were still about as free as a medieval serf with slightly better clothes.
Master has given Dobby a sock.
According to Boundless, marriage in the Renaissance was still more of a corporate merger than a love story. You weren't looking for a soulmate, you were looking for a deal that wouldn't get you completely disowned. And if you were rich, forget about choosing completely. Your parents played chess with your love life, and you were a pawn of their generational wealth building strategy. Imagine falling in love with someone and your dad goes, "Oh no, not him, sweetheart. We're marrying you off to Court Fart Smell over there because his family owns vineyards." Boom. Wedding. You'd never met him, never talked to him. And now you're contractually obligated to produce heirs and sleep with this person. That was the best case scenario. Now let's say you were a normal person, not a noble being bought and sold for land rights, just a regular peasant trying to find love. Could you go up to somebody and flirt?
You cannot.
See, flirting in the Renaissance was like trying to defuse a bomb while blindfolded with somebody fingering your butthole. One wrong move and boom, your reputation is completely gone. Now you have to fake your own death and move to a different town. Women were not allowed to be direct. If a woman showed too much interest in a man, society labeled her a whore immediately. I mean, were they wrong? I don't know. So what did they do? Secret messages. This is the era where love letters and gifts became the main way to express interest. But here's the problem. If anyone intercepted your letter, that was it. The entire town now knows that you have feelings, and you might as well pack your bags and become a nun because your reputation is ruined. And gifts, well, they were huge. You couldn't just write a letter and hope for the best. You had to send something expensive, elaborate, impractical.
My love, I have sent you this embroidered silk handkerchief, woven by the smallest, shiniest child, to show my affection. My dearest, here is a necklace made of gold and sapphires, mined in Zambia, so you may know my love is true.
We've downgraded a little bit.
But you know what isn't a downgrade? Soulmate, the AI-generated partner that will never ghost you, never complain, and most importantly, never develop enough self-worth to leave. That is right, a fully customizable, emotionally bulletproof, algorithm-powered lover designed specifically for people who couldn't get laid in a morgue. Let's be honest, you've tried dating. It didn't work. Maybe it's because you're awkward. Maybe it's because you still wear anime merch in public. Maybe it's because you describe your personality using words like Sigma and high-value man. Whatever the case, Soulmate is here to save you from yourself. Want a partner that actually texts back? Done. Need someone who calls you daddy without the risk of meeting their actual dad? Handled. Want them to moan your name like you didn't just finish in 30 seconds? Buddy, there's a setting for that. With advanced deep learning algorithms, Soulmate adapts to your every need, whether you want soft or tender intimacy, or someone to degrade you for being a disappointing failure. For just $19.99 a month, you get unlimited companionship, 0 STDs, and an AI that won't leave you for Chad from her work's marketing department. Use code FOREVERALONE at checkout for 10% off your first month of guilt-free algorithm-generated affection. Soulmate. Because real relationships are hard, and you gave up a long time ago.
I had to have dinner, so if my hat looks different, it's because of that. Even though romance was gaining traction, marriage was still a contract, and before a man could date a woman, he had to ask permission from her father. Not just a, hey sir, I'd like to date your daughter. No. He had to present his entire life plan, prove his financial stability, and basically pitch himself like a fucking startup company. Imagine Shark Tank, but with your penis.
Sir, I have a steady income, a fine reputation, and a good home. Here is my 5-year plan, my projected earnings, and a detailed budget outlining how I'll provide for your daughter. Also, here is a goat for your troubles.
If the father approved, congratulations, you are now allowed to date, but only in supervised environments where someone's great aunt would be sitting in the corner pretending to knit, but really listening to every word that you'd say. And if you touched her before marriage, yeah, boom, honor ruined. Family name disgraced. You are now either dead in a ditch or getting married immediately.
Marriage.
Because yeah, shotgun weddings weren't invented in the South. They've existed forever. It's just the weapon different. You'd think getting permission from her dad was the hard part. No. Then you'd have to agree on the dowry. See, the dowry was basically a reverse wedding gift, where the bride's family had to pay the groom to marry their daughter. That's right, in the Renaissance, marrying a woman was considered a financial burden, so her family had to literally bribe a man to take her.
Here's your dowry back.
We have strayed so far, we need to bring back the dowry today.
Right, put it in reverse.
We know she's a person with thoughts and emotions, but hear us out. What if we gave you 20 acres of land and a bag of gold? And if you think women had it bad, oh, buddy, men were not winning either. Because if you were a poor guy who fell in love with a woman from a wealthy family, Yeah, no, you can't marry him, sweetheart. No, he has no land, no title, no future. And essentially, you're in love, that's fucking cute, enjoy dying alone. But then by the late Renaissance, shit started getting out of control. See, rich men were supposed to marry rich women, but some of them started ignoring that rule and going for whomever they actually liked.
Godless heathens.
And that pissed society off. Because if a rich man started marrying poor women, that meant the entire system of wealth and power was at risk. So the upper class started cracking down hard. They made sure that marriage was still a financial deal, and by the time we hit the Victorian era, romance was fucking dead again. Because the Victorians took everything terrible about Renaissance dating and turned it into an actual horror movie. See, in the Victorian era, the time when people decided emotions were dangerous and flirting was a national security threat and sex didn't exist unless you were trying to produce an heir, this was the era of peak social repression, where if you so much as breathed wrong in front of the opposite sex, congratulations, you are now a ruined woman. I hope you enjoy knitting in exile because society has no more use for you. According to BBC History, courtship in the Victorian era was so strict that even touching someone's hand without permission could cause a scandal. Like, flirting required a goddamn user manual. Women weren't allowed to directly express interest in a man, so instead they had to use handkerchiefs and secret fan signals to communicate. It's like, what, dating somebody, like giving codes? Fucking military? Like fan signals. Like, imagine some dude on a ship doing Morse code trying to be like, I want anal. In the Navy! In the Navy! In the Navy! Ah! That's right, seriously, fan signals. Different ways of holding, opening, or closing a fan meant different things. If she fanned herself slowly, it meant I'm engaged. If she dropped the fan, it meant we must meet in secret. And if she closed it quickly, it meant fuck off, I hate you. Women literally had to Morse code their fucking feelings. And if you think that's bad, wait until you hear about calling cards. Before a man could even speak to a woman, he had to deliver a calling card to her house with his name and intentions written on it. Then her family would review it like a job application and decide whether or not he was allowed to say hello. So let's say that you're a guy in 1865. You see a girl that you really like. You can't just walk up and talk to her. No. That would be scandalous. See, instead you have to send a piece of paper to her family and wait for them to approve your existence.
Which creates a huge financial risk for most people.
And if her parents say no, well, congratulations, buddy. I hope you enjoy a lifetime of celibacy.
Denied.
But let's say that you somehow make it past that stage. Now you have to deal with the chaperone visits, where you sit in a parlor room under the watchful gaze of a grandmother who looks like she died 3 years ago, but no one told her. Don't even think about touching each other. Holding hands? That's outrageous. Sitting too close? Scandalous. Accidentally brushing fingers? Get the smelling salts. Sex before marriage? Yeah, that doesn't exist. You're a whore if that happens.
Shame, shame, shame!
I mean, you're still a whore if that happens today, but, still, consistency. See, Victorian men were so terrified of sexual temptation that they literally invented anti-masturbatory devices. There were metal cages designed to prevent boners because, God forbid, you get a little excited in your buttoned up, sexless, no personal space hellscape of a society.
Thus spaketh the Lord.
I mean, we have that today. It's called cuckolding, but they do that to themselves. And what happens if you accidentally get caught alone with a man?
What?
Well, your reputation is destroyed. Society now sees you as used goods, and your only options are 1, become a nun, 2, live as a bitter spinster, or 3, hope some rich guy with syphilis takes pity on you. It's probably your uncle, but yeah. Meanwhile, if a man ruined a woman's reputation, he got a mild scolding and went right back to being an aristocratic piece of shit. I miss the patriarchy. It was good times.
I was born 100 years too late.
By the late 1800s, some people realized that this was insane and tried to introduce a more casual style of dating. The response was immediate public outrage, because of course it was. People lost their minds, calling it moral decay and a threat to civilized society. The same people who thought that showing an ankle was softcore porn decided that casual dating was actually evil. But don't worry, things don't stay this miserable forever. Because as soon as the 20th century hit, people collectively decided, fuck this shit, let's start drinking and making bad decisions. That's exactly what they did. So welcome to the 20th century, where people finally realized that maybe, just maybe, romance should involve actually spending some time together.
It's a proven concept.
But of course, humanity found a way to make it stupid. See, the 1920s, the real fun is that this was also the first time that men and women could be alone together in a car, which shockingly led to massive spikes in vehicular manslaughter. Because if you think drunk driving is bad now, imagine a bunch of 1920s teenagers getting blitzed on bootleg gin, jumping in a car with 0 seatbelts, and then flooring it down a dirt road with 1920s headlights that barely work. And for some reason, society decided to nickname this the petting party era. Because apparently, when people weren't flipping Model Ts into ditches, they were using the back seats like makeshift motel rooms.
Well, it's nice to see that humans never change.
I mean, it hasn't changed much, but still, this is where car sex started. People saw this brand new piece of life-changing technology and immediately said, oh, I'm fucking in that. See, the 1920s were basically the Wild West, but with flappers and higher casualty rates. Then the Great Depression hits, and then dating suddenly becomes less about romance and more about surviving the fact that you might starve to death in a month.
So hungry.
Then comes World War II, which, shocker, doesn't exactly improve things. See, at this point, dating basically just becomes a marriage speedrun. Soldiers are getting shipped off and they want to lock someone down before they go. The government literally encouraged couples to get married quickly because, you know, gotta keep the morale up while half the male population gets obliterated in Europe.
War is hell.
See, this is where we get the war bride phenomenon. You know, you met a guy, he's getting deployed. Guess what? You're getting married, like tomorrow. People were meeting, dating, and getting engaged in the span of weeks.
Feel like a Mormon.
Now the war is over and people don't know what to do with themselves. Society is basically like, all right, go home, get married, and start repopulating the country. Chop chop. This is the golden age of going steady. See, dating is no longer about having fun, it's about locking someone down as fast as humanly possible. At this point, if you weren't married by 21, people started assuming there was something wrong with you.
I'm autistic!
And the absolute insanity of it all is people were getting married without actually knowing each other. You think that modern relationships move fast? Try the 1950s where couples met, dated, got engaged, and had their first kid in the time it takes you to figure out if you actually like someone. This is also where the nuclear family dream was created and shoved down everyone's throats. Don't get me wrong, it was a great thing, and it still is the best thing that we can do for society, but, you know, get a spouse, get a house, have exactly 2.5 kids, work in an office until you die. You know, that was the script then, and people bought into it. Until they didn't. By the time the 60s rolled around, people started questioning the system. Like, maybe I actually don't want to be married with 3 kids at 22. Maybe I want to go outside, touch grass, and experience life and drugs and all that hippie shit has to offer. And society completely malfunctions, because this is where the sexual revolution kicks in, where people start rejecting traditional relationships and experimenting with open relationships and saying shit like, marriage is just a social construct, man. It was full hippie, full free love, full fuck it, let's see what happens. And what happened? STDs. Yay! Lots of STDs.
Hi, Forrest. Now that I have the most contagious and incurable disease known to mankind, I'll finally have pity sex with you.
Okay, Jenny. And I'll mow the grass and raise the AIDS, baby.
See, casual sex skyrockets. The birth control pill becomes mainstream and people start actually getting divorces at record rates. By the 70s, divorce rates had tripled. People went from rushing into marriage at 20 to getting divorced by 30 and trying to figure out where the fuck they went wrong. And that is when society decided, all right, this is getting a little out of hand. Let's tone it down a bit.
Think you need to, ease off a little bit.
Which brings us to the 1980s and the 90s, the era of we have no fucking idea what we're doing anymore.
You mean when I was born?
So here we are, the 21st century, the era where technology was supposed to make life easier. But instead it turned dating into a high-stakes casino where the house always wins. And by the house, I mean your crippling loneliness. This is where love meets data science, where corporations own your love life, and your soulmate is buried under 600 bots, sex workers promoting their OnlyFans, and a guy named Kyle who takes gym mirror selfies with his tongue out. Kyle also claims to be a girl, but we'll leave that where it needs to be, in a box under all my winter shit. According to Cosmo, 1 in 3 marriages now start online. Now that sounds wholesome until you remember that Tinder is also responsible for at least a dozen serial killer cases. And Hinge is just LinkedIn, but for people who want to fuck. Let's talk about swipe culture. We took human connection, stripped it down to a collection of selfies, and now romance is just Tinder roulette. Think you're looking for love? No. You're training your brain to swipe on faces like you're playing a shitty mobile game with microtransactions. And let's not forget ghosting, the most efficient, effective way to make someone question their entire existence. See, back in the day, if you wanted to break things off with someone, you had to look them in the eyes and say it. It was actually character building. Now, you just disappear like a ghost. Like Casper, the ghost with the boner. Casper, the fucky ghost. Someone tells you they like you? Ha! Vanish. Blocked. Their messages are now screaming into the void. And the worst part is we all accept this. Society went, what if we normalized emotionally scarring people with 0 consequences? And somehow everyone agreed. But you know what's even more insane than ghosting? Talking stages. It's a new form of mental torture. See, this is a recent invention, and honestly, whoever created this needs to be launched into the sun or thrown into a gulag of some sort. A talking stage is basically the beta version of a relationship. You're not dating, but you're also not dating. You're texting every day, you're calling, hanging out, fucking each other, but if you ask, so what are we? Congratulations, you just ended the relationship.
I hate it!
That's right, the second that you try and define it, it disintegrates into dust. Just like Thanos snapping his fingers.
I don't feel so good.
You're all right.
I don't know what's happening. I don't know.
According to Pew Research, 67% of singles say modern dating is harder than ever. Yeah, no fucking shit. Because at least in the old days, if you were in a relationship, you fucking knew it. Now you can be in a talking stage for 6 months and then get hit with the, oh, I never saw this as anything serious. This is mental terrorism, by the way. But don't worry, it gets worse. See, dating apps could have been good, in theory. But instead, they became a dystopian hellscape designed to keep you single for maximum engagement. Digital Trends reports that only 44% of Tinder users are actually single. Yeah, you heard that right. More than half of the people in those apps are either in relationships, married, or just fucking around for validation. They're not even looking for dating. And if you're a guy, you are basically invisible on those apps. See, a study from Quartz found that women swipe right only 4.5% of the time, while men swipe right on 60% of profiles. That means the majority of dudes are swiping on everything like a slot machine, hoping that they'll hit the jackpot before the algorithm buries them so deep they might as well date in an underground bunker. And dating apps actually know this. See, they throttle your matches on purpose. So you get just enough attention to keep swiping, but not enough to actually find someone. Because if you get into a happy relationship, you stop using the app. And if you stop using the app, they don't make money off of you anymore. So they feed you crumbs, making sure that you're always desperate enough to just keep swiping. You're not the customer. You're the product. See, social media is the perfect tool for destroying humans in general. See, back in the day, if a relationship ended, it ended. Now you get to watch your ex thrive in 4K. You get constant real-time updates on how great their life is without you. They're out partying, you get to see it. They're on vacation with someone new, you get to see it. They post something vaguely emotional. Congratulations. Now you have to decode it like a fucking cryptographer. And if you think blocking them solves anything, no. See, because your mutuals will still repost their shit, and before you know it, you're 20 minutes deep into your ex's new partner's cousin's Instagram page wondering how the fuck you got there. According to Forbes, social media has increased dating anxiety by 73%. Because how can you be happy in a relationship when you're constantly comparing it to every highlight reel on Instagram? Well, what's that? Your partner didn't take you to Greece like that influencer couple? I guess you're in a failing relationship, huh? Social media has made it impossible to just be happy. So where does that leave us? Well, at this rate, we're like 3 years away from AI girlfriends replacing real women, 5 years from VR dating subscriptions, and maybe 10 from the government deciding as partners like a Black Mirror episode. Hell, give it enough time and we'll be right back to medieval matchmaking, except now your parents are choosing your spouse based on their credit score and their follower count on Instagram or something. So yeah, dating has been bad. It's always been bad. We just keep finding new ways to make it worse. And somehow we keep trying. Pussy's a powerful thing. Anyway, I hope you liked this video. If you did, make sure to like, hit the subscribe button. As I said on X and in my Discord, I'm just going to make videos that I find interesting or that I have fun with. Have a good one, everybody. I'm going to go hang out with my wife. I am so sorry for you single fuckers. Bye-bye.
Hippity hoppity, women are property. When the bitch gets sloppity, it's pure monstrosity. Tactical as fuck, no room for equality. Just knives, chaos, and hateful ferocity.